Thanks so much for being here tonight and taking a few minutes out of your evening to spend some time learning about the Clarkson Rhine River Cruise that we're going to do next year. My name is Ryan Joy. I am class of 2006. That's me there on the left-hand side of the screen with my wife Maggie, also class of 2006. We both grew up in New York State, but we have since moved to Florida. So if you see that picture there where we're wearing our Clarkson sweaters, you'll notice in the background that the lights are all sort of Mickey Mouse ear shaped, and that's because we took that picture at Epcot during the Festival of the Holidays. So that's a Disney World picture from us. But I am also the person who has been organizing the Clarkson cruises over the last couple of years. And the other pictures that you see on the screen are pictures from a couple of those cruises. The one in the far right is from the Caribbean cruise that we did last year in Aruba. We went to out of Fort Lauderdale to Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao on the Celebrity Reflection, and we had 37 people on that sailing, so it was a nice group, and we had an absolute blast. And then the picture in the middle, that's not our entire group, but it's a portion of our group from this past April 2026, when we went to Tahiti on with Windstar, and that was just an exceptional trip as well. Next, this later this month, actually, we're going to Bermuda out of New York with Clarkson Group, and then next month we have Alaska that we're doing with Celebrity Cruises, round trip Seattle. And then for next year, we have a Caribbean cruise in April that we really haven't even talked about quite yet through the alumni channels, but and then the one that we're talking about here tonight, which is the Enchanting Rhine River Cruise with Ama Waterways. So that gives you a little update on who I am and what we've done as far as the cruise program goes. But I want to talk about Ama Waterways for a second, and more specifically, a lot of people may wonder, and some people have asked, like, how do we come up with the destinations that we go to with the Clarkson alumni group? And it really comes down to probably a very simple explanation. I talk to the different cruisers and try to figure out what it is they want to do next. And meanwhile, in my capacity also as a travel agent, I'm always looking at the trends, and I'm always working 2 to 3 years out, trying to figure out where the next place that people may want to go is. So with that, the Rhine River is sort of a great choice for that. It's a very classic river cruise itinerary that a lot of people have done before, and it's super repeatable for people as well. So that's a little bit about how we choose the destination. And in terms of the vendor or the partner that we choose to use to do these trips, um, it's a couple of different factors. Like, first and foremost, we have to safeguard Clarkson's reputation, right? It's got to be a great cruise line or great travel vendor that we know you all and we'll all go on and have a great time and come back and tell good stories about the time that we had. We don't want to risk it with a vendor that's sort of not likely to give us that. So we choose sort of premium lines. That's why we've done Celebrity, which is a premium ocean cruise line, and why we chose Windstar, which is a premium ocean cruise line. So when we get to the river cruise segment, it's the same type of thing. There are you may or may not know that there are like well over 20 river cruise lines, and a lot of people have only heard of Viking. So Ama Waterways is what I would consider a premium river cruise line. It's not ultra luxury. Like, there's some of those out there where you feel like you must wear a like tuxedo to dinner or whatever, but Ama Waterways is not in that brand where it's elevated in terms of inclusions and things like that, but it is not like stuffy. So it's perfect, comfortable, and I think it really suits well to the Clarkson alumni who may want to go on this cruise with us. So that's a little bit about the selection of on the waterways. Now, river cruising in general. I want to continue with this thread before we get to the itinerary, the Rhine River itinerary. I want to continue with this thread so you can kind of understand a little bit more about Ama Waterways as a company. Um, River cruising as a concept really blew up when this channel right here in the center of the picture that I'm moving my cursor around, it is the, oh, it's the main Danube Canal that was actually built in 1992, although it had been desired for generations. I mean, back to Charlemagne would have loved to connect the main Rhine River with the Danube because now that that waterway is in place, you can go all the way from the Black Sea down in Bucharest and that area, all the way up to Amsterdam. And so AMA Waterways is on all of these European rivers up in the Rhine, that's up in here, and then down, of course, in the Danube and the Main and the Dutch waterways. And you've got these French rivers too, the Seine and the Rhone River here. And then also, bottom left corner is Portugal, the Douro River that AMA Waterways is also running on. So AMA has a tremendous footprint all over Europe, and they've been doing this is actually today, July 1st is their 24th anniversary of their founding. So it's a well established company that's doing a lot of business throughout Europe, but you can also see that it has what I kind of refer to as the exotics, where you have like Southern Africa on the Chobe River, so you can get sort of a safari element with your river cruise. They're up in Egypt on the Nile, so you can do the pyramids and the Sphinx and things like that. They're on the Mekong in Vietnam and Cambodia, and I'm actually doing a group next summer on the Mekong and a whole bunch of Clarkson alum. It's not a Clarkson cruise, but that's my network. So a lot of Clarkson alum are on that cruise. And then Colombia, they actually, AMA Waterways is a pioneer there. They worked with the Colombian government and the little small towns along the Magdalena River to open up that river for tourism. It was previously not really open for that kind of for visitors. So they didn't I don't think the Colombian people really knew what they had, so to speak, but now the AMA Waterways in there has worked really tightly with artisans and stuff like that in that area to bring the culture and everything of that region onto the ship. So a beautiful product that they have there, and they're the only two ships on the Magdalena River. So they really have kind of that little corner of the world broken out. So that's on the waterways from sort of a full platform of all their offerings. Now, we are doing the Enchanting Rhine, and I mentioned before that this is a classic river cruise itinerary, very popular for first-time river cruisers and very popular for people to repeat because there is so much that you can do in these destinations that you go one time and you might do this excursion, but next time you want to do the other excursion, or you went with a different line or whatever. But the Enchanted, yeah, the Rhine River from Basel to Amsterdam, we'll be doing this on a ship called the AmaFiora. AmaFiora is a brand new ship that has not even come out yet. It debuts next spring, so spring of 2027. So when we get on it in November of 2027, it'll be about 6, 7 months old. So it's great. It'll still have the new ship smell, but all the kinks will be worked out. So really fantastic that we get that brand new ship and everything that goes with it. Now, it's the traditional Basel to Amsterdam itinerary that we have, but in addition to that base itinerary, a couple of times a year, AMA Waterways overlays this celebration of beer theming. Now, what that means is you get the Enchanting Rhine itinerary that they promise they have all year round, but they have a couple of extra things around the beer theming. And when you're in this particular region of the world where beer is such a big part of their culture and part of their history, I think it's just so perfect as a cultural immersion aspect to be added. So you get the whole same Rhine River cruise, which is also super like wine is also super important to this region. So you get that whole thing, and then you get the extraness that comes with this celebration of beer theme that they lay over the top, and they invite on a brewmaster. So we will have on our sailing Sam Corbell from Sawdust City Brewing Company. He's from Canada actually, and he'll be on. He'll lead some tastings and things like that. But there will be plenty of opportunity to focus on the beer of the region, which is super fascinating. A little bit more about the ship experience. I'm going to talk about the ship here in the beginning, but really when we talk about river cruising, it's about the destination. The ship is kind of the ship. We're not really, river cruise companies don't really sell the ship as much as they sell their service and they sell the destination. But it's important for you to know what kind of experience you're going to have going from place to place. And what I want to talk about, this slide says unparalleled service, whatever. I believe all river cruise companies are luxury to some extent, but then there are levels within that luxury perspective. So the staff is, of course, wonderful. They're very good, very good. Whether it's the cabin stewards, the wait staff, or people in the lounge, or the bartenders, or whatever, they're great. But what I want to talk about is the vibe of what happens on the Waterways cruise. You walk into the lounge, and every river cruise line has a lounge. Some feel like a bar, some feel like a jazz club, and on the waterways, it feels like a living room. And that's kind of the concept that you go. It's like you feel very comfortable sitting down on like a comfy piece of furniture and having a chat with somebody, perhaps another Clarkson grad or whatever, that was on a different excursion than you in the morning. And you can kind of compare notes and talk about what you did and things. It lends itself super well to that because it is this comfortable atmosphere. And yes, it's a living room that happens to have a bar in the middle and some bar staff around to bring you things. But that is the vibe that you're going to get on an AMA Waterways cruise. Now, the staterooms, I want to talk about them because AMA Waterways pioneered this concept of a twin balcony. They are innovators throughout their course of their 25 years now, but they have developed this concept called the twin balcony. And you can see from this picture that there are two balconies in this stateroom. The one on the left is a French balcony or a Juliet balcony, and that just means that you can open the doors and you can kind of stand there, and it's that type of balcony where Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? That type of balcony. Versus on the right hand side, you have the typical balcony that a lot of American ocean cruisers are used to having, where they can do a walkout experience and sit on the balcony and things like that. So, AMA Waterways has this twin balcony concept in a lot of their staterooms. It's their most popular configuration. They also have suites, which are just big, big versions of this. And then they have rooms that just have the French balcony. And then they have rooms with a window. And the window is just above the water line. So if you stand up and you look out that window, you could potentially see a duck swim by. So that's kind of the overview from a terminology perspective. When we talk about pricing and stuff later, you'll see this is what we're talking about. So that's the staterooms. Cuisine, of course, listen, I'm a food person. I would not have picked a cruise line that doesn't excel in this area. And they really do. I mean, of course, your breakfast, lunch, and dinner is going to be included. It's fantastic the whole time. But they do really focus on sourcing locally. So even though we're going in November, they're going to be sourcing the produce and things like that as local as they can get, whether that's, from Europe anyway. So the Azores and the Canaries or whatever they have to do to get good, fresh produce, they will be doing. But yeah, sourcing locally, terrific, terrific cuisine. Another thing that I don't want to say they can't say that they invented the chef's table concept, but they were the first cruise line to include it. So on their sailings, they have a specialty restaurant called the Chef's Table, and it is a tasting menu with wine pairings at each course. So it's several courses that you get. And there's no cost to it. It's just a reservation that you need to make. So what's going to happen on our cruise, I'm hopeful that we'll all be able to get together and experience the Chef's Table together. In order to secure that, I'll just make sure that I'm the first person in the world that gets on the ship that first day, and then we'll get a reservation for our group. But that's what the chef's table is. I have a kind of a fun story I might get to at the end if we have time. But that is now starting this year, they actually opened the chef's table up for lunch. So now they have two options on the ship for lunch. You have the main dining room, and then you can also go to the chef's table, which is an Italian restaurant during the lunchtime. It's not reservation or anything like that. It's first come, first serve, but another just to have a different option for your lunch. So they're constantly changing and innovating, listening to their customers and stuff like that. And that opening that up for lunch was in response to that. So they've done a lot of work recently to just freshen things up. So it's very nice, 25 years in business. It makes sense to do that. Okay, conceptually, so that you know what's included in a on the waterways cruise, I'm going to talk about not necessarily sip and sail, although that's what's on this slide. I'm going to talk about drinks in general. So, of course, with breakfast or whatever, if you want a mimosa, that's going to be included. At lunch and dinner, you're going to get beer and wine. And then they also have this cocktail hour, which is, before dinner, where it's an open bar experience. So during all those windows, your drinks are kind of included. If you want outside of that, if you want soft drinks or whatever, that's included all 24/7, but they don't have open bar 24/7. So if you want something late at night or you want something that happens to be in the middle of the day but not in those hours, there is a cost associated with it. Now, it's not a profit center for them. They don't include it in order to keep the overall price down a little bit, but I mean, I know you can go to a bar here in the United States, you can spend $20 on a cocktail or $25 on a cocktail. That's not the case on the ship. I think beer is less than $6 or something like that. And the fact of the matter is, you're getting the lunch and dinner, you're getting the breakfast mimosas, and you're getting the sip and sail. Most of the time, it's open. Like you're going to be excursions at the other times. So it's just kind of like that after dinner hour where you might want it. And with our sailing in particular, there's going to be beer tastings and things like that in those off hours too. So you've got a lot of things. In addition, there's no corkage fees, and you're allowed to bring on beer and wine and cocktails, liquor, whatever you want anyway. So it's flexible in that regard too. And if you need them to open a bottle of wine for you or whatever, they do that. So you have all those options when it comes to your drink on board. In terms of entertainment, now if you've been on river cruises before or you haven't been on river cruises, most of them have some form of entertainment, but it's not always as immersive. What they try to do with On the Waterways is at least a few times throughout the course of the cruise, they're going to bring on local entertainers to, again, bring that immersion of the destination onto the ship. So if you're going through a classical music area, they might bring on a string trio or something like that, or a band or a demonstration, but to bring that cultural experience onto the ship so that it's, again, you stay immersed in the destination. They do have a wellness program. So you got the guy here in the red shirt. He's going to be the wellness host. And I'm laughing a little bit because what happens is they'll do like a morning yoga or a morning stretch. And on the first morning, you'll have like 20 people or 30 people that sign up for it, and about half of them attend. By day three, nobody's attending this thing because they're having fun, but they're sleeping in. But if you're heavy into wellness, they've got you covered there. That's this person's whole job is to do this wellness program. He's not like waiting on tables later in the day. He is a wellness person, so he works the spa and he works this type of thing, and that's it. So that is the wellness, and then the cruise managers. I described the lounge as kind of like a living room. And if the lounge is a living room, this man would, or woman, would be like the homeowner in the sense that he is going to be your host. He is going to explain to you everything that you saw during the day or things that you might have missed or like the highlights or whatever. And then he's going to set up the experiences for the next day. With On the Waterways, there's usually about three different excursion options that you have to choose from. The cruise manager is going to talk about all of those in detail to help you make a decision. You can pre-select before you get on the cruise and then change your mind the morning while you're in destination, and it's no big deal because there's no cost associated with them, so it's not a big deal, and you can change your mind. So it's helpful that the cruise manager kind of goes into detail about each thing and gives you some highlights and some anecdotes and talks about the weather if it's an outside thing. So it's really helpful to have the cruise manager there. And we'll come back to the cruise manager as we get into the destination a bit. But yeah, they have sort of an oversized impact on the cruise because they do feel like your host. Okay, as mentioned, we are doing the Enchanting Rhine. And so we've kind of talked about on the waterways enough, and let's talk about where we're going. And you can see here from the slide, we are on the Rhine River we are going from Basel northbound to Amsterdam, going through the Alsace region and going through Germany and France. You get four different countries on this itinerary, so super special in that way. Um, I didn't mention before, but I want to reiterate again, our dates are November of 2027. And the reason we talk about this like 18 months in advance is because the river cruising is super popular and our ship is only got 158 passengers. So there's not a lot of rooms on the ship, so they actually sell out a lot sooner than a normal like ocean cruise would because there's so few cabins. So when we're trying to put a group together like we are here for Clarkson that may have several people on it, we need to be thinking in advance. So that's why I said before, I'm always thinking 2, 3 years out, and that's why we're talking about this 18 months in advance, not like 6 or 7. So that's the deal with that. But this is a great itinerary, and we start in Basel. And Basel is kind of a cool place because first and foremost, it's the headquarters for AMA Waterways is in Basel, but it is really at the confluence of both Germany and France as well. So despite being in Switzerland, it's like if you take a left, you're in France, and if you take a right, you're in Germany. And that is indicative of the whole first quarter of this itinerary, where we are in the Alsace region of um, of the France and Germany situation. So our first port after we leave Basel, by the way, if to get to Basel, you're probably going to be not going to have a direct flight from the United States into Basel. You'll probably have to connect through like Munich or Zurich or something like that. Or if you do a land extension in the beginning, you just find your way there on the day that we sail. But yes, that's Basel. So we start in this German town called Breisach, and it is the gateway to the Alsace. And while what is this Alsace that I've referred to a few times? So, um, it is a situation where the people in this region, they live there, but they don't refer to themselves as French or German because this little section of land might have been France at this time and Germany at another time, and then this section, the reverse, Germany now and France later, things like that. So they don't refer to themselves as French or German, they refer to themselves as Alsatian. So Breisach and the next couple of ports are in that region where the Rhine is dividing is the border between France and Germany, and yet the people there they refer to themselves as Alsace. When you're in Breisach, we have a couple of choices of things to do. As you can see, you can do the cycling, and that's going to be something that you can do almost every port. But here you're cycling through the vineyards. You could also do a hike in the Black Forest, or you could visit Colmar, which is a traditional Alsatian town, and it feels very much like it did in the 16th century. So it's kind of like frozen in time. You may see a Statue of Liberty replica there because the sculptor of the Statue of Liberty was actually from Colmar. Um, so that is Breisach, the first stop on our trip, and those are some of the experiences that you can do there. As we move next, we go to Strasbourg, France. And Strasbourg is sometimes people's favorite destination on the whole Rhine. And it's because it's such a beautiful destination with these half-timbered houses and things like that. Lots of governmental activity. It's really the capital of the Alsace region. So you again have those French and German flavors throughout. You can do a guided bike tour here as well in Strasbourg. You can do, if you're into shopping and you want a souvenir, very popular for silk scarves in this area. Or you could go to do a walking tour through the UNESCO World Heritage La Petite France section of Strasbourg. And that's what this picture is with these half timbered houses. So very beautiful, very picturesque place to be. There is a cathedral here that is also very interesting. It has an astronomical clock inside it. So if you happen to be there when the hour changes, you can go and see inside and see. It's kind of a fascinating. You see the movements and everything of the clock. It's very cool. If you're there at the turn of the hour. Now, as we leave Strasbourg, the next port is actually Ludwigshafen But the main thing to do there is to take an excursion to Heidelberg. Now, Heidelberg is actually not on the Rhine River, so we take an excursion over here. It's on a different river that you see in the foreground, and that is called the Neckar River, or the Neckar River. The big highlight here in Heidelberg is this red sandstone castle, which I was thinking about this earlier as I was going through my notes and stuff. Isn't that a nice parallel with Potsdam, New York, with all the red sandstone, this Heidelberg castle? But as we go through different, talk about different ports, you'll understand that I'm big on snacks and drinks and things like that. So, um, Heidelberg, believe it or not, is really well known for gummy bears. They have all natural gummy bears. If you were like vegan or whatever, they can accommodate that with the gummy bear. So super interesting thing that they're famous for. But also chocolate kisses are big in Heidelberg, Germany. And there's like this whole legend around where the patrons of like bakery or cafe or whatever would we fell in love with the wait staff or the waitress or whatever, but the waitresses are typically the shop owner's daughters, so they would pass notes that are wrapped in these chocolate kisses to the waitress. So just kind of a cute thing to do to know about the food and snacks of Heidelberg. But yes, the castle is the main thing here that you're seeing. Next up on our list is Rudesheim, and Rudesheim is this beautiful little town on the Rhine River that's surrounded by vineyards. And so the excursions here, again, um, you've got these vineyards, and you can take this, as you can see, you can take this what's it called, this gondola tour over the vineyards, and the grape of this region is actually Riesling. So another kind of parallel with upstate New York, I thought was kind of interesting with the Riesling wine. So when you do the gondola tour at the end, you can also sample the Riesling wine. But in addition, if you don't want to do the gondola tour, you can actually hike through the vineyards or again take out the bikes. So you have a lot of options there. But before you leave Rudesheim, you need to have the Rudesheimer coffee, which is a coffee drink that they have whipped cream and chopped like flakes of chocolate on there. They introduce some brandy and it's very pretty and beautiful and everything, and then they set that thing on fire. So it's kind of like so I'm really excited to to have the Rudesheimer coffee, and I'm not even much of a coffee drinker, but I think that's a really cool thing to try. So something I definitely want to do. Now, this is the highlight. The UNESCO World Heritage Rhine Gorge. This is perhaps the thing that most people are looking forward to when we do a Rhine River cruise. You go through the Rhine Gorge. There will be 40 castles on the riverbanks that you'll see throughout that time. And while we're sailing through, it'll be daytime sailing, and while we're sailing through, the cruise, the cruise manager that I was talking about before will go up to the bridge on the ship, and we'll actually take the microphone and we'll do narration to point out the different landmarks that we're going by and what their significance is and importance is to history and whatnot, so that you have a better understanding of what's going on. And people hang out in the lounge and listen to this narration. People go up to the sun deck and listen to this. And sometimes you can even stay in your room and listen to this. So whatever is most comfortable for you in that moment, you can be there, but still taking in all the beauty of these castles on the Rhine Gorge. So we go by 40 different castles, and you might be thinking to yourself, well, do we get to go to a castle? Do we get to see a castle? And we do. We go to Laneck Castle, and this is a 13th century castle, and it was the last refuge of the Knights Templar when they were expelled and being hunted down and whatnot. Um, Queen Victoria once visited here, so there's a beautiful portrait of Queen Victoria this in this castle. And also, if it's not really a Disney tie-in per se, but if you're a Disney, if you have any Disney type of experience and you've been on the Haunted Mansion ride, you'll remember that there's like this room that the cart goes through, and it's got these busts of authors that are, as you move through the room, the busts kind of turn and they follow you and they're watching you as you go through. Well, my understanding is that in this castle, there is a, a portrait of the owner, and the owner's eyes do the same thing. So if you walk into the room, you'll feel like that this owner is like looking at you, and as you walk through it, it feels like his eyes are following you. So kind of spooky, or you're gonna, whatever. But that's the deal with Walnut Castle. So very cool that we get to do it. It's exclusive to Ama Waterways, so it won't be a super crowded experience. It'll be just us there. But very nice opportunity to visit one of these castles. And then we go to Dusseldorf. From Dusseldorf, you can do a few things, but this is the home of the Alt beer. But when we go to Dusseldorf, you'll want to have that Alt beer because kind of next on the agenda, you can do an excursion from here to Cologne. And Cologne is known for this beautiful cathedral that you see on the screen now. This cathedral, from I understand, has 20,000 visitors a day. It's a beautiful church. And some little history about it is that in World War II, Cologne would have been a target for the Allied forces, but they did not bomb the church, and it wasn't out of the kindness of their heart because it's this beautiful building or anything like that. It was because that those spires that you see are actually were great landmarks to kind of tell them where they were. So the church was not destroyed because of its beauty. It actually remained in place in spite of its beauty and whatnot. So a beautiful landmark there. Now, this bridge to the right-hand side is one of these bridges where people hang locks off of. And I don't mean locks like the canal type of locks. So it's like a padlock, and they sell them here because this is one of the primary spots. It's done all over Europe nowadays, but this is one of the spots where it originated or whatever, where you can get a lock and you maybe put your initials on it with your significant other's initials, and then you lock it onto the bridge somewheres on the fence. And then the idea is that you throw away the key into the Rhine River, and it's supposed to symbolize, your eternal love, you're locked together forever. So a kind of a neat thing to do there. But Cologne is super, super passionate about their Kolsch beer, and they are rivals with Dusseldorf, which we mentioned a few seconds ago. So Dusseldorf really thinks that the Alt beer is the best. Cologne thinks that the Kolsch beer is the best. So I believe it'll be our mission when we're there is to try both and inform them what we think. So I think that'll be a fun thing for us to do when we're in Europe, is to taste those two beers and then get an idea for which one we think is actually superior. So another thing in Dusseldorf is they have this other drink that is also kind of got a World War II tie into it that you may want to try. It's called, I might butcher the pronunciation, but it's Kilpisch or something to that effect. But essentially, Dusseldorf would have been getting bombed during World War II, and all the Germans would go down into the bunker and they'd say, well, before they kill us, why don't we have a drink of this thing? And it was kind of a brandy type drink, but out of that grew the brand Killer Peach. So that might be something to try as well when you're in Dusseldorf. And then we come to the end. We have an overnight stay. Oh, get the slide right here. We have an overnight stay in Amsterdam. And if you haven't been to Amsterdam, I think it's really amazing that we have an overnight here. We come in during the day, and then we can do the excursions here, include a canal tour, which I think is the most iconic thing to do there. With all these, there's I think 150 different canals. So to do a canal tour is a really iconic thing to do in Amsterdam. But if you've already done that in the past, or you don't want to go off of one ship and onto another, which I get, they also have a Taste of Amsterdam tour. And I'll tell you what, I was in Amsterdam just this past March, and these people do snacks really well. So a Taste of Amsterdam tours is a good thing to do. They have, whether it be stroop waffles, which are like this really thin pastry with the caramel in the middle, or they have these little tiny pancakes that are the size of like a $1/2 that they can put Nutella or powdered sugar on or whatever. Those are fantastic. I liked both of those, but man, when they brought out the pickled herring, I was like, or yeah, pickled herring, I think. I was like, nope, I'm out on that. That's not the snack I wanted to have. But on that Taste of Amsterdam tour, you'll have the opportunity to taste those things. Plus, they have some cheese from the area as well. The Netherlands as a country, I didn't realize this till I went, is all on reclaimed land. So it's below sea level. And that's why if you look at sort of that blue building and some of the other buildings that are in this picture, you'll notice that they're leaning. And that's because they're all built on pylons underneath. So it's it to me is super fascinating. And I just didn't really expect to enjoy Amsterdam as much as I did, but there's so much to do there. So it's great that we have the overnight, and I would suggest, On the Waterways has a post tour, 2-night post tour in Amsterdam, and I honestly I don't know that you need to do that, but you could just get a couple of hotel nights, and there's plenty to do in Amsterdam if you'd like. Um, so great opportunities in Amsterdam. All right, so that is the cruise, and that's on the Waterways. So I will bring up the pricing now. And by the way, I put the picture of the Golden Knight here on the page because I thought, isn't it kind of cool that we have all these castles and things like that? It's a nice tie-in with the Golden Knights. So I thought that was kind of fun. But again, November 13th through the 20th, 2027. I talked about the different room types earlier when I showed the picture. The window rooms that I mentioned where the ducks can swim by and you can kind of look out, those rooms are totally sold out. So remember I said like we got to be ahead of this. This is the second webinar that we've done on this subject and those rooms have completely sold out. The French balcony rooms only, there's plenty of those available. And then, of course, the twin balconies and the suite. These numbers that you see on the slide are per person, but they're based on double occupancy. So if you're planning to go by yourself, then let me know and I can get you those prices. There are some really good incentives that we have right now. If you were to book and deposit by July 31st, we get free prepaid gratuities included. And that gratuities, by the way, are they're not mandatory, but they give you guidelines. But if you book by the end of the month, they're just going to include the gratuities and you don't have to worry about the guidelines or anything like that. But that's, they suggest that per person, $200 is about what you should tip for a week. So that free paid gratuities is a little less than $400 worth of value that I think you're getting. Now, I have sailed with On the Waterways before, and when I'm doing that, I was able to purchase at my own expense future cruise certificates. And what's great about that is I can transfer those certificates to all of you and get you a 5% discount off the cruise fare. So it's off the cruise fare, not those prices on there include like the port fees and stuff like that and the taxes. So it's not quite 5% of that price, but I gave a range there. So it's like 225 to 350 a person, depending on which room you take. So it's a pretty significant savings that you can get with just the 5%. So that's a nice thing. I don't have a million of those, but I do have some. So if you're interested in going, I would love to be able to just transfer those to you and get you that. Now, deposit is $400 per person, but when we use that future cruise certificate, they actually reduce it to $200. So you only have to pay $200 to lock in your space. The $200 per person, that is, and typically what it is a $400 deposit where half of it's non-refundable. With this, it's $200 and it's not refundable. So they don't so basically the part that they leave on is the non-refundable part. So, so that's that on the pricing for the cruise. Just a couple of other things I mentioned on the Waterways does do pre and post land options, and you can do that. They have a 2-night Lucerne and a 2-night Zurich for a total of 4-night pre-cruise option that you could add on. And they also have and it kind of looks like this. Here's sort of the things that you'll do is you get the 2 nights and you get some tours. It says return flight home there, but it's really actually board the ship there on day 5. And then Amsterdam, there's a 2-night post as well. So I have the next slide I have is a Q&A slide, but I will go back to the pricing slide because I find that that's where most of the questions normally come in. Uh, but that's the cruise. That's pretty much the whole cruise. I know I've been talking for quite a while. Hopefully, it was a thorough presentation and you got a lot of questions that you might have answered. But do feel free if you have any questions, feel free to come off mute, ask those questions, um, and or type them in the chat if that's your preference, whatever you like. But I'd be happy to answer questions. I did earlier put my contact information in the chat, so you have that in the event that you want to get in touch with me afterwards. But any questions?
Oh, I do have a question. It's Susan.
Hey, Susan.
Class of 84, living in Cincinnati right now. Is this a non-smoking ship, please?
Yes, there would not be smoking on the ship. If there is smoking on the ship, it would be in a very designated spot on the top deck. But I don't think there is any smoking on it. There's
Well,
definitely
that
no.
that would mean a lot to me because sometimes the wind is blowing the wrong way, and even though there's smoking somewhere other than a public area, it can still be affecting my
Gotcha.
sinuses.
Yes. It's definitely not going to be um, anywhere in the interior of the ship. If there is, it would be on the exterior. I will find out.
Okay,
I
yeah, if
will.
you could find out, that'd be great.
Yes, I will.
And
And
then
the,
also, I've done well, only one cruise in the past, but it seemed like they did different packages for, all you can drink and Wi-Fi and, whatever. And it sounds like you don't offer any extra packages, that the drinks are included except for certain times of the day.
yeah, so Wi-Fi is included. So
Okay,
that's done. Excursions are included. So that's done. There's the one specialty restaurant, and there's no charge for that. So those are the main things. And then, yes, the drinks is the only thing that's there where there's like not an inclusion there, but it is, it's like, during the day, the drinks aren't included, but you're also usually out on excursion doing something.
right, right,
So it's really like, in my mind, it's like that, like after dinner hour, that is probably the most weird spot where you might have to pay for a drink if you want. But
right.
like I said, they're not terribly expensive. It would be more expensive to buy a package.
But
So
you also said that you could bring on board from your excursion, right? So you might have your
yes,
own anyway.
that's right. Yep.
So
And I
the
and
next
I
question is, and I don't want to hog everyone else's time, but maybe this will help others too. I found on my other cruise that sometimes the stops were very prohibitive in the timing, where they're ringing the bell that you're in port at like 6 a.m. and you had to be back by 2 p.m., something like that. Do you have the times of when you're in port and when you're departing again?
I don't have them handy, but I can get sort of the times. Certainly, if you're on the excursions or whatever, the excursions will always be back in time and stuff like that. But I can get the times for you. Sometimes the situation with these ones though is that you might be in one place in the morning and a different place in the afternoon. Sometimes.
Well,
So
that's what I was wondering, if it's just going to be too compressed, like too many stops. Too, like, oh, we got back. Uh-oh, we're in a new port. We got to go do something else. You know what I mean?
yeah, I
Worry
will
about the
say I
spacing.
have always found the other cruise that you did was a river cruise or was it something else?
Mine?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was Alaska.
Okay. What I found, and so here's the itinerary, and you can see that for most part it's one stop per day, but then you do have this is sort of like the morning, early afternoon on day 4 is in Ludwigshafen, and then you get to Rudesheim in the evening, and then you start your day in Rudesheim, then you sail through the Rhine Gorge. So for the most part, and even like on day 7, you have this overnight. So you do have
Yeah.
some days in the middle where you're going to see multiple places.
Okay.
But honestly, I find these things to be so relaxing because all of that, imagine if you weren't doing a cruise and you wanted to go to these places. You would have to figure out your transportation and all that stuff, where instead
Right.
you can be
Right.
reading a book or whatever you want, or just taking in the scenery.
Yeah, that was my question, is if you do not leave the ship,
Mhm.
are you comfortable on board, like just hanging out,
Oh,
or is
yes.
everyone trying to clean around you and you're like feeling, like, why didn't I leave?
No, no, it's actually very comfortable. I was like, so I mentioned that that lounge is like the living room. And so it's like perfect. The first I was super jet lagged the first time I was on one of these cruises, and I found myself wandering to the lounge at like 4 in the morning, and I was super comfortable. I grabbed there was a coffee machine type thing in the lounge, like one of those big espresso machines, and you could get your latte or whatever, and then you could just sit and read there, or if you're going through the locks in the middle of the night, that's kind of a cool thing to do. So yeah, the people are totally fine. They're good.
Okay, that's great. And I see Richard's question. I had the same question. What's the weather like in mid-November?
Yep, it's going to be on the cooler side, so I would say probably 40 on the low would be like that nighttime low, and probably up to like 55 or so. So not hot and not Potsdam, but um, kind of I say those are the temperatures, but I feel like it's the New York fall weather is what we're most likely to experience. So that covered Richard's question there too.
That sounds great. Thank you for all
Yep.
the information.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could I ask a question?
Yeah, please do.
Um, so I assume this is adults only?
Okay, so AMA Waterways does allow children, but it's not really, you probably won't have any on here. And the reason is like they will allow them to put a third person in the room, but there's not an extra bed or anything like that. So it has to be a very small child that could be in the room with them, and there's absolutely no programming. So it is pretty much adults only.
And I assume there's no orientation towards gambling,
Correct. There's no casino on board.
no casino. Excellent.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. So we have somebody who doesn't like the smokers and somebody who doesn't like the casino. So you guys will get along great.
Well, because usually the casinos allow the smoking.
Exactly. Yep. That's where all the smoke goes. Yep. For sure. Yep. Okay. When I do the Mekong actually and it'll be with On the Waterways next summer, one of the couples is bringing their child. The minimum age is 4, and she will just barely be 4, and it'll be a kind of a stretch for them. But it's a situation with her, like everybody. There's a big group of us going, and we all know her, so it's like we have zone defense on this one child. So it'll be lots of people to entertain her.
So where do you start in the Mekong and where do you end up?
The Mekong is, let me slide back to that slide. It's a little tough to see on here. Um, yeah, okay. So here's the graphic.
Yeah.
And see, I'm trying to remember because I'm doing some land extensions, but you start in Vietnam and you end in Cambodia or the reverse. And
Are you starting in
We're
Saigon?
s- we're starting in Saigon, yes.
yeah, there you go.
Sorry, Ryan, just to jump in. We're starting in Saigon and then going up to Cambodia. I can't think of the name of where it ends.
Well, it ends near
Is
Angkor Wat.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Yeah.
And you get to tour Angkor Wat?
It's technically not included because it's the very last day, but you can add the tour on.
Excellent.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
this
and I
is
was, go
this,
ahead, sorry.
this is happening in the cool weather season or the
It's
hot?
the it, it's August. Well, there is I don't even know if there is a cool weather there. It'll be hot and it's actually the rainy season when we're going. But that was motivated because we have some teachers in the group, so we had to go during the summertime.
Yeah.
Yep. But it is a little bit of a rainy season, but also because of that, it should be a little less crowded. So,
Thank you.
yep.
And Ryan, do you have a newsletter about all of these other trips that you are taking so that we can
Yeah, of
see?
course. Of course. Yeah. I can
Because
add.
some of them, I didn't know you, did I get anything about Tahiti and
Oh,
Bahamas,
no.
Bermuda?
Yes, there would have been different emails from Clarkson on those things, but it's funny. It's whenever I do one of these, I do find that people are learning about all of them at one time. It's yes, there would have been emails from Clarkson on those, um,
Okay.
but I can definitely keep you in the loop on all those going forward too.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't do all Clarkson, maybe there's something else that you do that we'd be interested in, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, I have a newsletter that I will pass your way.
Okay. So I'm either coming with my college roommate or my husband.
Oh, either one is so much fun.
My roommate says, let's all three go together. I said, nah, I don't think she doesn't really drink and he loves beer. So
Oh, okay.
that might make the decision for us.
Yeah. Well, maybe she can find somebody to, you know, somebody to somebody else to go with. And then you
Yeah.
can all go. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Good.
yeah. So, all right. Well, very good.
This has been
Um,
great. Thank you
oh, I'm
so
glad.
much for
I'm
everything.
glad. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ryan.
You bet. You bet.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. I guess I'm hanging up too then.
Unless you want to chat some more.
Oh, do you do what is the payment schedule? So
Yes.
deposit by
Okay.
the end of the month gets you
The
the
prepaid goods.
discounts.
Yep. So so that's a $200 payment per person. And then the final payment is not due until 90 days prior to sailing, which is also the big name that everybody knows in river cruising is Viking, and they take full payment 1 year in advance.
Oh,
So
I bet they do. Yeah.
yeah.
And
Oh,
travel insurance never covers pets, which is my only concern. I have two senior dogs, but
I
if I
s-
get travel insurance, they don't cover if your pet is dying. So
you
I
know what?
always worry about that.
I have about 5 different companies that I work with for travel protection. I will email them specifically and ask if any of them cover that. I think there might be at least one of them that has a
Gotta
pet
be
policy.
somebody because it's easy to prove if you're going to an emergency vet and
Yeah,
spending hundreds of dollars, it's very easy to discern between them and a regular vet visit.
yeah, yeah. I'm going to ask them because I think I've had conversations with all these insurance companies before, and I feel like it has never been relevant until you just brought it up. But I feel like somebody said to me that there might have been a pet policy. So I'm going to find out.
Hmm. That would be great if you don't mind. So yeah,
Yeah.
so cancellation would be, well, you
Right.
probably send that all out in the documentation, right?
Yeah. I'll follow up with the recording of this. I try to get that out faster. It might take me a couple of days to figure out the pet insurance aspect. Maybe not. I might find out right away. I have a few people I can ask. But if it's not included with the follow up right after this, then I'll get back to you in a couple days.
Okay. And are the terms of the payments in that website that you sent me yesterday when I said I needed another copy of it?
They might be. They might
Doesn't
be.
look
Yeah,
like it.
I may have not put them in there, but that's what they are, and I will put them in the email too that I send as the follow-up to this. Because there was quite a few people that registered that didn't show up tonight, so they'll get the replay and they'll want to know that.
Okay.
So, yep,
Okay. So if we do a $200 deposit by the end of July, then that will include gratuities.
that's right.
And what else did
Yep,
it include? Yeah, I was confused. I don't know what you meant by the cruise fare. Is that the room price?
yes. So
It sounded
let
like
me
an
pull it
extra
up.
fee.
Okay, this is the total. So 477.8 per person for the French balcony room. I was when I say discount is 5% off the cruise fare, included in that price is a $280 like port fees and taxes and stuff. So I have to like take the 478, subtract 280, and then take 5% of that. And that's why it's not like a straight 5%. But yes, so you would get this discount that is associated, and this is per person, this
Okay, so
discount.
it's not 4,778 per person isn't the total price. You also have a cruise fare fee,
No, 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 no. 4,778 per person is the cost of the trip.
but aren't there taxes too?
Nope, they're in that price. But when I calculate the discount, that 5% discount, I have to subtract the taxes out, is what I was saying.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you take credit cards, correct?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I don't have the
Which-
cash laying on this moment.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yes, me too. I'm glad to hear that you're excited and sounds like
Yeah.
you'll definitely be joining us.
And so the sold out rooms, is that other people or is that Clarkson people already?
It's a combination. So
Okay.
we have a handful of Clarkson people that are already booked. And then I mentioned that brewmaster is coming, and so he has an entourage of people that his following that will come as well.
Oh, that was a
So
question. Is he on the ship full time?
he'll be on the whole time. Yep.
Okay. Oh, my husband will love that.
I know, I know.
And
Where do you live, Susan? Yeah, Ohio,
I'm
you
in
said,
Cincinnati.
right?
Yeah, I'm in
Yeah.
Cincinnati. I'm originally from Poughkeepsie area.
Okay. Yep. My wife, you heard her voice a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
She's from Yorktown Heights.
Oh, no
So
kidding. Yeah. And
yeah.
where are you from in New York?
Sort of near Glens Falls.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, we took a hard left when we got to Glens Falls when we had to go through
that's
the
right.
Adirondacks to get to school.
Right, that's
Way
right.
back in the day,
You go
way
up to,
before you. Oh my
did you go
God.
to Warrensburg and get off there and then go through the
Yep,
mountains?
exactly.
Yep. Beautiful
Back in
drive.
the day,
Yes,
before social media, before cell phones,
I know.
before drinking and driving was a big deal.
Well, and I mentioned I'm an '06 grad. So I started in 2002 and we didn't have GPS then either. So
Yeah, that's
so
true.
it was like and I did not have a cell phone when I started, although my cell phone is at Potsdam area code. It's 'cause I got it I got one while I was there. But yeah, so I would have MapQuest printed off or whatever it was at that time. And God forbid I made a wrong turn or something, I would have no idea where I'm going.
God, you'd be in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
But
you have to
really, I
find the
mean,
house
there's probably
fast.
no cell service up there anyway, so you really needed to know
That's
where
right.
you were going.
That's true. Yep. Yep. In those early days. Yep.
All
So
right, well, let me let you go. Thank you for everything. I look forward to seeing your follow-up emails.
sure thing. I look forward to hearing from you. Okay.
Thanks, Ryan.
You
Thanks,
bet. Okay.
Maggie.
All right. Bye.
Bye.